Okay, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling, well, a really critical challenge in healthcare right now. Something impacting doctors, nurses, and, ultimately patients.
Right, alert fatigue.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Alert fatigue.
It's a problem that's really blown up with all the electronic systems, the monitoring devices we have now.
Yeah.
Clinicians are just facing this constant, relentless stream of notifications every single shift.
And the numbers, when you actually look into the sources, they're pretty staggering.
They really are.
One review mentioned, 80% to maybe even 99% of clinical alarms? Clinically insignificant.
Yeah.
Or just plain false.
Yeah, think about that, 99%.
It's overwhelming.
That volume is just, it's noise. It's not signal most of the time.
Right.
And, the Joint Commission, they focus on patient safety. They've ranked alarm-related hazards as a top 10 tech threat for years now.
So it's a known thing, high stakes.
Absolutely. It's not new, but it's persistent.
And it's more than just annoying, right? It's actually dangerous.
Profoundly dangerous, yeah.
Imagine you're that nurse in the ICU. You're getting hundreds, maybe 1,000 alerts a shift. And most don't mean anything. The studies show they might look at an alert for, 3 seconds? Before just dismissing it.
3 seconds. It's barely enough time to even process it properly, let alone investigate.
And that's a direct result of the constant barrage, isn't it?
Totally. One source had a great analogy like endless prank calls.
Yeah.
Eventually, you just stop picking up, even if one might actually be important.
Right. And that's not like a flaw in the clinicians themselves. It's just human nature, isn't it? Information overload.
Exactly. It ties into real psychological things like habituation, and you just get used to it. And inattentional blindness. Your brain literally starts filtering out stuff it thinks is irrelevant, even if it's right there.
Wow.
And the data backs this up. One study highlighted that the chance a clinician actually acts on an alert, it can drop by 30%.
30%.
For each reminder, they get about the same thing.
That's wild. The system is almost training them not to pay attention.
Inadvertently, yes. That's the danger.
Okay, so that paints a really clear picture. So our mission here in this deep dive is to figure out, okay, how do we get here? What are the dangers? And crucially, can machine learning offer a lifeline? Can AI help filter this noise, find the real signal, and just highlight what's truly critical in real time?
That's the core question. And we've looked at a few different sources, some research reviews on AI in nursing, clinical decision support,
Okay.
a broader book on AI in healthcare. And this is really interesting, a study that specifically tested how well ML models react when things get really critical for a patient.
Got it. So before we dive into the ML side, let's just underline why this alert fatigue is so, baked in and dangerous. It's more than just an annoyance, right?
Oh, absolutely. Fundamentally, it's a patient safety crisis. It just looks like a workflow problem on the surface.
Right.
When clinicians are buried under that volume, 80-99% irrelevant alarms, their cognitive load just shoots through the roof.
They're spending all their energy sorting noise.
Exactly. Instead of focusing on direct patient care, it creates this environment where, ignoring alarms or just giving them a quick glance becomes almost necessary to survive the shift.
Yeah, a coping mechanism.
Precisely. And it can lead to this thing called normalization of deviance.
Okay.
Basically, ignoring alerts or responding slowly becomes the accepted norm. Not because people are careless, but because the system itself is so flawed, they adapt.
And the consequence, it's chilling.
It is. When that one truly critical alert finally fires the one signaling a rapid, life-threatening change,
It might just get lost in the noise.
Exactly. Missed entirely, or its importance is downplayed, or the response is just too slow because it sounded like all the other non-urgent beeps.
You mentioned that awful example earlier.
Yeah.
The teenager, the overdose.
Yeah, a 3,800% overdose, despite system alerts firing.
The alerts were there, but they didn't prevent the error.
It just underscores how basic alert systems fail when fatigue sets in. The critical signal gets drowned out. That's the fundamental risk.
Okay, so we're drowning in data, drowning in these useless pings. How can technology, specifically machine learning, throw us a lifeline here?
Right. This is where ML starts to look really promising for this specific problem. Machine learning, as one source put it, isn't just about simple if this, then that rules.
Okay.
It's about algorithms that can actually learn complex patterns and relationships directly from huge, messy data sets.
Like all the stuff coming off a patient monitor in real time. Vitals, labs, meds, history.
Exactly. Vital signs, lab results, what's in the EHR, their history.
Yeah.
ML can look at hundreds, maybe thousands of these data points all at once.
Yeah.
And it can learn these incredibly subtle, complex combinations of factors that are genuinely predictive of something important happening, not just one number crossing a line.
Okay. So the hypothesis is ML could actually learn to predict which alerts are the ones a doctor or nurse will find truly useful, the ones they'll act on, because it sees the bigger picture.
Precisely. By spotting those complex patterns that correlate with real clinical significance, ML could potentially drastically cut down on the unnecessary alerts.
So moving beyond just generating alerts based on simple thresholds.
Right. To intelligently filtering and prioritizing them based on a much deeper, data-driven grasp of what's actually happening with the patient right now.
And the sources we looked at, they mentioned some areas where this is already happening or being explored, especially in places like ICUs.
Yes, definitely. AI-powered monitoring systems are a big one. These aren't just passive devices. They use ML to constantly analyze the data coming in.
So they can spot subtle things earlier.
Potentially, yes. Subtle physiological changes that might not trigger a standard alarm but could be an early sign of trouble. Things like the very first hints of a fever or maybe even pain indicators.
Before the patient even complains.
That's the idea. And catching things early means intervening earlier, getting ahead of the crisis.
Which leads to better outcomes, presumably.
Yeah, the hope is for fewer complications, maybe shorter hospital stays, lower readmissions. Those early warning algorithms specifically seem promising for triggering faster responses.
Right. I saw that mentioned AI-powered clinical deterioration early warning systems. That sounds like exactly what we're talking about.
It is a prime example. These systems pull data from all over vitals, labs, EHR data, and use ML to constantly assess a patient's risk of getting worse.
Trying to predict deterioration before it's obvious to the human eye.
That's the goal, predicting the crisis before it fully unfolds.
That sounds incredibly powerful. Life-saving, potentially.
It could be. Studies are showing potential for reducing mortality, fewer unplanned ICU trips. It all comes back to that idea of smart alert configuration, tiered prioritization.
So like green, yellow, red alerts based on real urgency.
Exactly. ML helps tune the system to be much more relevant, assigning those urgency levels, which is absolutely critical in places like the ICU where time is everything.
And maybe even simpler things like consolidating alerts. If 3 different machines are basically saying the same thing.
That's another potential win. AI could learn to recognize when different alarms point to the same root cause.
Okay.
And then just give the clinician one clear, comprehensive alert instead of 3 separate noisy ones. It's about making the system work for the clinician, not against them.
Okay, so this sounds great. Machine learning as this smart filter, finally getting the right information to the right person. Seems like the answer. But, and this is where it got really interesting for me and kind of counterintuitive, one of the sources found a surprising and pretty critical hurdle.
Yes. This was a really key finding from that Medrock study we looked at.
Right.
You'd naturally assume, okay, these ML models, especially if they're trained to predict outcomes like, say, dying in the hospital.
Yeah, you'd think they'd be fantastic at spotting the really dangerous stuff.
Exactly. They should be exceptionally good at flagging critical, life-threatening conditions. But the study found, that conventionally trained models could actually be alarmingly unresponsive when shown data representing severe deteriorating states.
Wait, say that again. The AI designed to spot danger might miss the most obvious danger signs.
That's what they found in certain test scenarios, yeah.
How?
They tested these models using specifically crafted synthetic data. Data designed to look like clearly dangerous situations like critically low breathing rates, bradypnea, or dangerously low blood sugar, hypoglycemia, things a human clinician would immediately see as an emergency.
And the models didn't flag them, or didn't flag them strongly enough.
In some cases, yeah. Or they seriously underestimated the risk. Even when the test data had multiple vital signs, all clearly in critical zones, simultaneously, the models sometimes predicted a surprisingly low risk of mortality.
That seems completely backwards, if its job is to be an early warning system.
It does feel contradictory. The study's hypothesis about why this happens is fascinating. It might not be a flaw in the algorithms themselves, but maybe in the data they're usually trained on. Think about it. Standard training data sets, even massive ones, are mostly filled with data from patients who are stable or maybe only mildly ill.
Right. Most patients aren't actively crashing at any given moment.
Exactly. So cases representing truly critical, life-threatening moments are relatively rare in the data.
So the models get really good at recognizing normal and maybe a bit off, but they just don't see enough examples of catastrophically wrong during training.
That seems to be the crux of it. Even if you have data from patients who survived and patients who died, the patterns of individual vital signs during the non-critical phases might actually overlap quite a bit. So the model learns correlations based on the average, the most frequent patterns. And those extreme critical values just might not carry enough weight in the standard training data to teach the model their true urgent meaning.
The source called it a semantic deficiency, I think.
Right.
The model sees the number but doesn't grasp the meaning of that number being in a critical danger zone.
That's a really good way to put it, yeah. That was a key insight from the paper. They did find some specific model types, like one called CW-LSTM, performed better on these critical zone tests than others, like standard logistic regression or LSTM.
Okay, so some are better than others.
Yes, but the overall finding is a huge cautionary tale. It means AI models built to save lives by spotting critical issues. Well, they might miss those exact issues if they aren't specifically tested, and maybe even trained differently, perhaps using data engineered to really emphasize these dangerous but rare scenarios.
Wow. Okay, that really changes the picture. It's not just about building a model that works well on average data.
Not at all.
This takes us right into the messy, practical realities of actually implementing this stuff in a real hospital.
Absolutely. The algorithm is just step one. There are huge practical hurdles. Data is a massive one.
Right. Garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. You need high-quality, standardized, available data streams, and the training data needs to be robust enough, maybe even specially engineered, to tackle that critical zone blindness we just talked about.
And just getting the data together. Healthcare data is notoriously siloed, right? Integrating real-time feeds from monitors, the EHR, lab systems, that all talk different languages into one place for an ML model. That sounds like a nightmare.
It's incredibly complex, a massive technical lift. But it's essential if you want these systems to work effectively in real time.
Okay, tech hurdles. Why not?
Then you have the human side, the organizational factors. Clinicians have spent decades dealing with annoying, unreliable alarms. They need to actually trust these new AI systems.
That's huge. If the AI missed that critical low blood sugar in a test, how do you build confidence it won't miss it with a real patient?
Exactly. Rigorous testing, transparency about what the models can and can't do, that's vital. And we have to think about clinical judgment. The goal isn't for AI to replace clinicians. It's supposed to augment them, be a smart assistant.
Right, highlighting things they might miss in the noise.
But there's a risk of over-reliance, right? If people just blindly trust the AI without understanding its limits.
Yeah, you lose that human intuition, that gut feeling.
So successful implementation needs everything. The tech, the data, the integration, and clinician training, buy-in, trust, and a clear understanding of how this tool fits into the whole care process.
It sounds like it requires a real culture shift.
It really does. Embracing AI as a powerful tool, yes, but recognizing its limitations and ensuring it works with human expertise, not instead of it.
Okay, so let's try and pull this together. We started off seeing how alert fatigue is this really dangerous, widespread problem, drowning clinicians, risking patient safety.
And we saw how machine learning offers this potentially powerful way to filter that noise, using data to find complex patterns, predict real events, prioritize critical alerts, maybe break that cryo cycle.
But then our deep dive uncovered this really crucial, maybe unexpected layer of complexity.
Yeah. These ML models have to be rigorously built and, importantly, tested to make sure they're actually sensitive to the most critical, life-threatening conditions.
They need to overcome potential blind spots that might come from just using standard training data, which might not have enough of those rare, really dangerous scenarios.
Exactly. It shows that putting AI into healthcare isn't just about coding a smart algorithm. It's about validating it like crazy, especially in the edge cases where lives are on the line.
Right. And integrating it seamlessly, making sure clinicians trust it and know how to use it, and remembering it's a tool, a powerful one, but still a tool to support human judgment.
It has to augment, not replace, that essential human element of care.
So this really leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? As we push forward with more AI in these critical moments of patient care, how do we ensure these systems aren't just accurate on average, but truly reliable when a patient is most vulnerable? And how do we manage that while still preserving, even enhancing, that irreplaceable clinical intuition and expertise that healthcare professionals bring to the bedside?